Cancer is often described as a disease of bad luck, damaged genes, or aging. But over the past few decades, scientists have uncovered something that changed the way many researchers think about this complex disease. It isn't just about the cancer cells themselves, it's also about the environment those cells live in. In many ways, cancer behaves like an unwelcome guest that depends on its surroundings for survival. Change that environment, and you may change the conditions that allow it to grow. That idea has inspired one of the most fascinating areas of modern medical research. Instead of asking only how to destroy cancer cells, scientists have also begun asking a different question. What if we could make the body a much less welcoming place for them in the first place? The answer turns out to involve something we all rely on every second of every day: our blood vessels, our immune system, our metabolism, and even the food we eat. And perhaps the most surprising part is that these systems are deeply connected in ways that many people never realize. Cancer remains one of the leading causes of death worldwide, affecting millions of families every year. Yet despite enormous advances in medicine, researchers continue discovering new insights about how tumors begin, survive, and spread. Some of these discoveries have changed the direction of cancer research entirely. One of the scientists who helped bring these ideas into public awareness is Dr. William Li. His work focuses on the body's natural health defense systems and how lifestyle factors, including nutrition, may influence them. Rather than promoting miracle foods or quick fixes, his message is built around something much more realistic. Our daily choices may help support the body's own protective mechanisms over time. That distinction is incredibly important. No single food prevents cancer. No diet can guarantee protection, and nutrition should never replace appropriate medical care. But evidence increasingly suggests that the foods we eat can influence biological pathways involved in inflammation, blood vessel growth, metabolism, immune function, and DNA protection. These are the very systems scientists continue studying because of their relationship to healthy aging and cancer risk. However, that's not the most interesting part. For decades, researchers believed tumors simply grew by dividing over and over again. But eventually they noticed something strange. Very tiny tumors often stopped growing. Why? If cancer cells multiply rapidly, why wouldn't they simply continue expanding forever? The answer led to one of the biggest discoveries in cancer biology. Just like every healthy organ in the body, tumors need oxygen and nutrients. Without a reliable supply, they simply cannot grow beyond a certain size. Scientists observe that many microscopic tumors remain dormant because they lack access to enough blood vessels. This process of building new blood vessels has a scientific name: angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is not a bad thing by itself. In fact, it's one of the body's most important healing processes. Every time you cut your skin, recover from surgery, or heal after an injury, your body creates new blood vessels to deliver oxygen and nutrients where they're needed most. Without angiogenesis, wounds would never heal. But researchers later discovered something surprising. Cancer cells can hijack this normal healing process. Instead of creating blood vessels for healthy repair, tumors may release signals encouraging new vessels to grow toward them, supplying the oxygen and nutrients needed for continued expansion. This realization transformed cancer research. Instead of targeting only cancer cells, scientists began investigating whether interrupting abnormal blood vessel growth might slow tumor progression in certain situations. This eventually contributed to the development of anti-angiogenic therapies used alongside other medical treatments for specific cancers. Yet the story doesn't end in the hospital. Researchers also became curious about everyday lifestyle factors. Could certain dietary compounds influence the same biological pathways? The answer appears to be more nuanced than many headlines suggest. Scientists have identified naturally occurring compounds in a wide variety of foods that are being studied for their potential effects on angiogenesis, inflammation, oxidative stress, and cellular communication. These compounds don't function like chemotherapy. They aren't medications. Their effects are generally much smaller and occur within the broader context of an overall healthy dietary pattern. Still, this research has opened an exciting field of investigation. Take tomatoes, for example. Most people think of tomatoes simply as a source of vitamin C, but researchers became interested in a compound called lycopene, the pigment responsible for their rich red color. Evidence suggests lycopene has antioxidant properties and may help protect cells from oxidative stress. Scientists continue studying whether diets rich in tomato products are associated with lower risks of certain cancers, although results vary depending on the population and many other lifestyle factors. What's especially interesting is that cooked tomatoes often provide lycopene in a form that's easier for the body to absorb, particularly when consumed with healthy fats like olive oil. It's a reminder that nutrition isn't just about what we eat, it's also about how our bodies process those foods. And this is where the story takes another unexpected turn. Many people assume antioxidants work like tiny superheroes that instantly neutralize harmful molecules. Reality is much more sophisticated. Our bodies constantly produce reactive oxygen species as part of normal metabolism. In controlled amounts, these molecules actually play important roles in cell signaling and immune defense. Problems may arise when oxidative stress becomes excessive or chronic. Rather than completely eliminating these molecules, nutrients from whole foods may help the body maintain a healthier balance. Researchers increasingly believe that balance, not elimination, is one of the keys to healthy aging. Then there's green tea. For centuries, people have enjoyed green tea for its flavor and calming effects. Modern researchers became interested in compounds known as catechins, particularly one called EGCG. Laboratory studies suggest these compounds interact with multiple biological pathways involved in inflammation, oxidative stress, and cell signaling. Human research continues to explore how regular green tea consumption fits into broader patterns associated with long-term health. It's important to recognize that laboratory findings don't automatically translate into identical effects in people. Human biology is far more complex. Still, population studies continue generating intriguing questions that scientists are actively investigating. But perhaps one of the most overlooked players in this entire story isn't found in a food at all. It's your immune system. For many years, scientists believed the immune system mainly fought infections. Today we know it does much more. Every day, immune cells patrol the body, identifying damaged, infected, and abnormal cells. Many researchers describe this process as immune surveillance. Most abnormal cells never become dangerous because they're recognized and removed long before they develop into serious problems. This means healthy immune function isn't just important during cold and flu season, it matters throughout every stage of life. Researchers now understand that sleep, physical activity, nutrition, stress management, and metabolic health all influence immune performance in different ways. This helps explain why chronic poor health habits rarely affect only one organ. The body's systems are deeply interconnected. When sleep suffers, inflammation may increase. When inflammation remains elevated for long periods, metabolic regulation may become less efficient. When metabolism changes, immune function can also shift. It's like an orchestra. Each section must stay synchronized. If one instrument falls out of rhythm briefly, the music continues. But if multiple sections lose coordination for years, the entire performance changes. Scientists now increasingly study health through this systems perspective rather than focusing on isolated organs. And nowhere is this more apparent than inside the gut. Most people associate digestion with breaking down food, but researchers have discovered that trillions of microorganisms living in the digestive tract participate in processes extending far beyond digestion. Collectively called the gut microbiome, these bacteria help produce vitamins, support immune development, influence inflammation, and even generate signaling molecules that communicate with other organs. Scientists continue uncovering new relationships between the microbiome and overall health, including possible links with cancer risk, although many questions remain unanswered. One fascinating discovery involves dietary fiber. Unlike many nutrients, fiber isn't fully digested by human enzymes. Instead, much of it becomes food for beneficial gut bacteria. As these microbes ferment certain fibers, they produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids. One of these, butyrate, has attracted significant scientific interest because laboratory and early human research suggest it may help support the health of cells lining the colon while also influencing inflammation and immune activity. Again, these findings don't mean fiber is a treatment. Rather, they illustrate how everyday dietary patterns may support biological systems that contribute to long term health. And here's where many people unknowingly miss an important opportunity. When discussing healthy eating, conversations often focus on individual superfoods, but researchers increasingly emphasize dietary patterns instead. A handful of blueberries cannot cancel out months of highly processed eating. Likewise, one unhealthy meal doesn't erase years of balanced nutrition. The body responds to patterns repeated thousands of times over decades. That may sound less exciting than searching for one magical ingredient, but it's also far more empowering. Small choices accumulate. Each nutritious meal becomes one vote for supporting healthy blood vessels, another vote for balanced metabolism, another vote for immune resilience, another vote for healthier aging. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson emerging from modern nutritional science. Health isn't usually determined by one dramatic decision. It's shaped by countless ordinary ones. Still, researchers uncovered another surprising piece of the puzzle, one that connects blood sugar, metabolism, insulin, inflammation, and the environment surrounding cells in ways that many people never imagine. Understanding that connection may completely change how you think about food, energy, and long-term health. Because the real question isn't simply what cancer cells need. It's what allows healthy cells to remain resilient year after year as we age. That discovery may be one of the most important developments in preventive health research. To understand why metabolism has become such an important topic in modern health research, we first need to look beyond calories. For years, many people thought metabolism simply referred to how fast the body burns food. In reality, metabolism includes thousands of chemical reactions happening every second inside every cell. These reactions transform nutrients into energy, repair damaged tissues, build proteins, regulate hormones, and support virtually every function that keeps us alive. Because these systems are so interconnected, scientists have become increasingly interested in how long-term metabolic health may influence the body's natural defenses. One hormone often discussed in this context is insulin. Insulin is essential for life. It helps move glucose from the bloodstream into cells where it can be used for energy. Without it, the body cannot properly regulate blood sugar. The challenge isn't insulin itself. It's when the body is exposed to consistently high levels over many years, often as a result of excess calorie intake, low physical activity, poor sleep, or diets high in refined carbohydrates and ultra-processed foods. Research suggests that long-term metabolic dysfunction is associated with chronic inflammation and other biological changes that may influence overall health. Scientists continue investigating how these changes interact with cancer biology, although the relationships are complex and differ among various types of cancer. However, that's not the most fascinating part. Researchers have discovered that healthy cells and cancer cells often handle energy differently. One of the earliest observations came nearly a century ago from the German scientist Otto Warburg, who noticed that many cancer cells relied heavily on glucose through a process called glycolysis, even when oxygen was available. This became known as the Warburg effect. For decades, scientists debated what this finding truly meant. Today, researchers recognize that while many tumors exhibit this metabolic pattern, cancer is remarkably diverse. Different cancers and even different cells within the same tumor may use energy in different ways. In other words, there isn't a single cancer metabolism. That distinction matters because it reminds us that biology is rarely as simple as headlines make it seem. You'll sometimes hear claims that you can starve cancer by eliminating one nutrient or following a particular diet. Current evidence does not support such sweeping conclusions. Cancer cells are highly adaptable. Like healthy cells, they can often adjust to different nutrient environments. This is why nutrition should be viewed as one part of an overall strategy for supporting health, not as a substitute for evidence based medical care. Yet the research remains incredibly exciting. Scientists are exploring how dietary patterns, weight management, physical activity, and metabolic health may influence the environment in which cells function. The goal isn't to deprive the body of nutrients, it's to help maintain the conditions that support healthy tissues and resilient biological systems. And this brings us to one of the simplest yet most powerful habits supported by decades of research: eating a wide variety of minimally processed plant foods. Colorful vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, seeds, herbs, spices, and whole grains contain thousands of naturally occurring compounds. Many of these compounds are still being studied because they appear to interact with multiple pathways involved in inflammation, oxidative stress, cellular repair, and immune signaling. Crucially, these foods don't work in isolation. Researchers increasingly believe that the combination of nutrients and phytochemicals within whole foods creates effects that are difficult to reproduce with individual supplements alone. Think of it like an orchestra once again. A single violin can produce beautiful music, but an orchestra creates something much richer because every instrument contributes to the final performance. Whole food dietary patterns appear to work in a similar way. And this is where another misconception deserves attention. Many people spend enormous energy searching for the perfect supplement while overlooking the habits that consistently show the strongest associations with long-term health. Scientists have studied populations around the world where people routinely live into their 90s and beyond with relatively low rates of chronic disease. Although these communities differ in culture and geography, several common themes appear again and again. Their diets are generally rich in whole plant foods. They stay physically active throughout daily life. They maintain strong social connections. They sleep regularly. They avoid smoking. And they rarely rely on one quote-unquote superfood to protect their health. Instead, they practice healthy routines over decades. That idea may sound almost too simple, but simplicity is often what makes habits sustainable. Most people never hear what researchers discovered next. Exercise doesn't simply strengthen muscles. During physical activity, muscles release signaling molecules called myokines. Scientists continue studying these remarkable compounds because they appear to influence inflammation, metabolism, immune communication, and the health of other organs throughout the body. In effect, your muscles function as an endocrine organ, sending beneficial signals well beyond your arms and legs. This means movement affects far more than body weight. Even moderate physical activity has been associated with improvements in insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular health, mood, cognitive function, and healthy aging. The important message isn't that everyone needs intense workouts. Consistency matters far more than perfection. A brisk walk after dinner, taking the stairs, gardening, cycling, swimming, strength training a few times each week. These seemingly ordinary activities accumulate into meaningful physiological changes over time. Yet the story becomes even more compelling when we consider sleep. Many adults view sleep as something that can always be sacrificed. Researchers increasingly see it differently. During sleep, the brain organizes memories, hormones are regulated, damaged tissues are repaired, and immune cells coordinate essential functions. Evidence suggests that chronic sleep deprivation may contribute to metabolic dysfunction, impaired immune performance, and increased inflammation. One night of poor sleep won't determine your future health, but years of inadequate sleep may gradually influence many of the systems we've discussed throughout this video. Then there is stress. Stress itself is not the enemy. Our bodies evolved to handle short periods of challenge. The problem arises when stress remains elevated for months or years without adequate recovery. Persistent stress can affect sleep, eating behaviors, physical activity, hormone regulation, and inflammation. Rather than acting through a single pathway, it influences multiple systems simultaneously. This helps explain why healthy aging depends on more than one habit: nutrition, movement, sleep, emotional well-being, and social connection reinforce one another. Improve one area, and the others often become easier. Ignore one for long enough, and the effects may ripple throughout the body. Scientists sometimes describe this as systems biology. Instead of viewing organs separately, they examine how everything communicates. Your gut influences your immune system. Your immune system affects inflammation. Inflammation interacts with metabolism. Metabolism influences blood vessels. Blood vessels nourish every organ. Every system participates in the same conversation. And perhaps that is one of the most profound lessons modern medicine continues teaching us. Health is rarely isolated, it's integrated. So, what practical steps emerge from all this research? The evidence consistently points toward habits rather than shortcuts. Building meals around colorful vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, seeds, and whole grains may help provide a broad range of nutrients and beneficial plant compounds. Choosing healthy sources of protein, including fish, beans, lentils, yogurt, or other minimally processed options, supports muscle maintenance and overall health. Including healthy fats such as olive oil, avocados, and nuts can contribute to a balanced dietary pattern. Limiting ultra-processed foods and sugary beverages may support healthier metabolic function. Staying physically active most days of the week helps maintain muscle, cardiovascular fitness, and insulin sensitivity. Prioritizing quality sleep allows the body's repair systems to function more effectively. Managing stress through mindfulness, spending time outdoors, meaningful relationships, or relaxation practices may support both mental and physical well-being. Regular preventive health screenings remain an essential part of maintaining long-term health, especially because many conditions are far easier to address when identified early. None of these habits are glamorous. None promise overnight transformation, but together, they create an internal environment that research associates with healthier aging. And perhaps that's the closest thing science offers to a long-term strategy. Not perfection, not fear, not miracle foods, but steady, evidence-informed decisions repeated consistently. As researchers continue exploring nutrition, metabolism, angiogenesis, the microbiome, and immune biology, one message becomes increasingly clear. Our bodies possess remarkable systems designed to protect, repair, and adapt. Those systems are influenced every day by how we eat, how we move, how we sleep, and how we care for ourselves. We can't control every risk. Genetics matter. Environmental exposures matter. Chance also plays a role. But lifestyle remains one of the areas where many people have meaningful opportunities to support their long-term health. That perspective is both realistic and empowering. It shifts the conversation away from chasing miracle solutions and toward building resilient habits. Because resilience isn't created in a single day. It's built meal by meal, walk by walk, night by night, year after year. The remarkable advances in cancer research remind us that disease is rarely defined by one cause or one solution. Instead, it reflects an intricate interaction between genetics, biology, environment, and lifestyle. The more scientists learn, the more they appreciate the extraordinary complexity and adaptability of the human body. Perhaps the most inspiring lesson isn't that one food can change everything. It's that your body is constantly responding to the choices you make. Every nutritious meal supports countless biological processes. Every walk strengthens more than your muscles. Every good night's sleep gives your cells another opportunity to recover. Every healthy habit becomes another investment in the future version of yourself. The decisions we make today may seem small, but over years and decades, those choices can shape how we age, how we feel, and how long we remain healthy. That's why understanding the science matters.